It's Wednesday morning and the country is recovering after a night and early morning attack. On the United Marathon, 1+1 is tracking the most important updates. And now, once again, the news from TSN is on air. 9 people have died and dozens were injured after a strike on an apartment building in Ternopil, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy reported. Rescue operations are ongoing and there may still be people trapped under the rubble. Today, Russia terrorized Ukraine by launching more than 470 drones. And 48 missiles of various types targeted Ternopil, Lviv, Kharkiv, Kyiv, Mykolaiv, Dnipropetrovsk and Chernihiv regions. Once again, the Russians struck at energy facilities, infrastructure and transportation. In Prikarpatia, 3 people were injured, 2 of them children. A person was also injured in Donetsk region. The number of victims in Kharkiv has risen to 36. Among them are 2 children, aged 9 and 13, and an 18-year-old girl. The city was subjected to a massive drone attack overnight. Civilian infrastructure was hit in the affected area. In 2 districts, Slobitsky and Osnoviansky, one of the Shaheds crashed into a 9-story residential building. A large fire broke out there, filling the stairwell with smoke. Emergency workers evacuated more than 50 people, including 3 children. At least 6 victims were hospitalized with injuries and burns. Garages and civilian cars under the buildings also caught fire. The roof of an office building burned. There was extensive destruction in a supermarket, and public transport and critical infrastructure were damaged. The city council has already announced that today trolley buses are not running on at least 3 routes. All emergency services are still working at the sites of the strikes.
Strike drones were used, specifically Shahed 2. At present, 15 impact sites have been identified, where inspections of the scene and the collection of debris are ongoing. The targets were civilian infrastructure, specifically a supermarket building, an educational institution, apartment buildings, and civilian vehicles.
The enemy has entered the southern part of Mirnohrad. Our forces have detected up to 30 soldiers in the city and are attempting to eliminate them. The situation in the Pokrovsk-Mirnohrad direction is becoming more complicated. They are also putting pressure on the northern part of Pokrovsk. Fighting has intensified in the Novopavlivka direction as well. There, the occupiers broke into the village of Novopavlivka using up to 10 pieces of equipment. So far, our forces have not been able to completely drive them out of there. The Russians are advancing deeper into the Dnipropetrovsk region in this section of the front, particularly toward the highway connecting Pavlohrad and Pokrovsk. The aggressor is also pressing in the Pridniprovsk direction. There, Ukrainian defenders repelled both attacks by the occupiers in the area. The situation near the Antonivsky Bridge is no less difficult than near Huliaipol. In the Zaporizhzhia sector, over the past few days, we have lost more than 100 square kilometers of territory, which is 6 villages. And the enemy does not stop its assault actions. It is difficult for our soldiers in Kupiansk. To prevent the advance of Ukrainian forces in the city, the Russians have brought in reinforcements, according to the defense forces. The General Staff stated that at the beginning of the past day, there were 160 combat clashes on the front. And now about enemy losses. Here are today's figures. According to the General Staff, the Russian occupiers lost another 850 soldiers killed or wounded. In the past day, they also lost 12 artillery systems. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian army has decreased by 1,161,230 soldiers, 230 troops. More than 11,356 tanks have been destroyed in the fighting, and 23,595 armored combat vehicles. 356 tanks and 23,595 armored combat vehicles. 595 armored combat vehicles. Thank you. These statistics were also updated over the past day. Also, more than 34,500 enemy artillery systems have been eliminated, over 1,500 multiple rocket launcher systems, 1,247 air defense systems, more than 82,000 tactical-level drones, and 3,940 cruise missiles have been neutralized. To date, 428 Russian aircraft and 347 helicopters have been shot down, and at sea, 28 ships and boats and 1 more submarine have been neutralized. Strengthening Ukrainian air defense, the U.S. State Department has approved a possible sale to Ukraine of equipment to upgrade Patriot systems. This refers to a maintenance package worth $105 million. In addition to spare parts and auxiliary equipment, the package also includes training, logistics services, and software support. Washington noted that the sale will not affect their own defense capability and emphasized that such assistance to Ukraine is intended to support the foreign policy and national security objectives of the United States. After all, it is about enhancing the security of a partner country that is a driving force for political stability and economic progress in Europe. With President Trump's blessing, Congress will indeed consider the bill on anti-Russian sanctions. Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican, wrote about this the day before on the X network. Together with Republican Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, they are co-authors of the corresponding bill, which provides for the introduction of significant tariffs and other sanctions against buyers of Russian energy resources. The document is already prepared. It has significant support in both chambers of Congress among both Republicans and Democrats, as Graham confirmed in a post. Let me remind you, President Trump himself recently publicly expressed support for such intentions of his fellow party members, only advising to add Iran to the list of sanctioned countries. Meanwhile, the main buyers of Russian oil remain China and India. A senior White House official, speaking on condition of anonymity, has already confirmed to Reuters that the president is ready to sign such a law, if all the levers for making decisions regarding sanctions still remain in his hands. Poland scrambled fighter jets due to Russia's massive attack on Ukraine. Because most of the missiles were heading toward the west of our country, the Polish Armed Forces Command launched its own and allied aircraft at 5:30 a.m. However, this measure was not intended to help Ukraine repel the Russian combined attack, but rather to monitor the skies. In the border regions of Poland, this has already become standard practice for both Poland and Romania after incidents where aerial targets used by Russia to attack Ukraine eventually entered the territory of neighboring countries. Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in Ankara for talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Among those who welcomed him at the airport as part of the Ukrainian delegation was also the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, Rustem Umerov. The subject of the negotiations will be new opportunities that will help Ukraine achieve a just peace. The day before, Volodymyr Zelenskyy said, I quote, "I have a good relationship with the President of Turkey. We will talk. We have some positions and signals from the United States. We'll see." Zelenskyy noted that the duration of the negotiations will depend on the positions of the parties. There will be no Russian delegation in Turkey. Overall, this year, Ukraine and Russia have held 3 rounds of negotiations in Istanbul. In May, June, and July 2025, the only concrete result of these contacts was the exchange of prisoners. Meanwhile, guests from the Pentagon, high-ranking American officials, have arrived in Kyiv. And, as reported by Politico, this refers to Army Secretary Dan Driscoll and Chief of Staff General Randy George. They are the highest-ranking Pentagon officials during the Trump presidency to visit Kyiv. This is also the largest visit by an official from the current U.S. president's administration since February. According to Politico, the American guests plan to meet with military representatives, Ukrainian officials, and President Zelenskyy to discuss how to break the deadlock in peace negotiations with Russia, despite the fact that Moscow has already rejected such initiatives. The discussion will also cover strengthening cooperation between Kyiv and Washington, particularly regarding the exchange of technologies in the field of drones and autonomous munitions. And now we return to Ternopil, where a rescue operation is underway amid the ruins of damaged apartment buildings following the night and morning strikes. Emergency workers are inspecting floor by floor to check if there are any people trapped under the rubble. They are also extinguishing fires during the combined air attack by drones and missiles. Several explosions were heard in the city, and it is known that 2 apartment buildings were hit. And our TSN correspondent Svetlana Pavuk is working at the scene of the attack right now. We have her live on the line. Svetlana, what official information do we have at this moment regarding the dead and injured? And do we know how many people might still be trapped under the rubble of the destroyed buildings?
So, what is known at this time? 9 dead and 33 injured. This is in the 2 apartment buildings. Right now, as you can see, a search operation is underway in this apartment building. The Russians destroyed the top 4 floors. Rescuers are trying to reach people trapped under the rubble. We don't know how many people are there. We do know that there are even injured children in the hospital. This building is located in a residential district of Ternopil. The other one is also damaged. It's in the same district, but a bit farther away. There's a primary school nearby. All the windows here have been blown out. Regarding this building, the strike happened early in the morning, and as you can see, firefighters are still putting out the flames because everything is still smoking. The warehouses located nearby have also been affected. There was a direct hit there as well. And now the chlorine content in the air exceeds the normal level by 6 times. You can see recovery work is still ongoing. Now I'll ask for a soundbite. It's just that there are no people here. If they hadn't gone down, it would have been just...
It would have been 3 casualties at least, if not more.
People don't really want to talk. There are many people here who have suffered, who are waiting for their relatives to be pulled out from under the rubble, but they absolutely do not want to talk to journalists. They are in a state of shock after the first and most powerful attack on Ternopil. There are a lot of people here, and people were told to close their windows and not go outside because the air is contaminated, but still, a lot of people have gathered. For now, that's all the information. I still don't know how many people were pulled out, because that information hasn't been provided yet. That's all I can say at this moment.
Thank you. We will be closely following updates from you. TSN correspondent Svetlana Pavak reporting on the enemy strike on Ternopil. There have been hits on apartment buildings. Currently, there are 9 dead and others wounded. Search operations are ongoing at the sites of the attacks. Search and rescue operations are underway, and as the TSN correspondent reported, there is significant air pollution near the sites of the strikes. Today, members of parliament are once again gathering in the session hall to make another attempt at passing personnel decisions. The session was scheduled to start at 10 o'clock, and we now have the opportunity to watch what's happening there live. Here are live broadcast shots from the parliament. Right now, speeches are taking place there, among other things.
Today we are supposed to hear an answer. Who initiated those draft laws and cabinet decisions that enabled the Mindich scheme that launched Mindich's barrier that essentially laid the groundwork?
The day before, the Verkhovna Rada was unable to dismiss Minister of Justice Herman Halushchenko and Minister of Energy Svetlana Hrynchuk. The matter did not even reach the consideration of the draft resolution. Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko was supposed to report on the dismissal of her subordinates, but government officials never appeared in the Parliament Hall. Opposition deputies, in particular members of BUT and representatives of European Solidarity, initiated a campaign to collect signatures for the resignation of the entire government, not just the 2 ministers whose names are involved in the corruption scandal. And eventually, the European Solidarity faction blocked the Rada's podium, insisting on the resignation of the entire cabinet.
Petro Oleksievich, so am I understanding correctly that you will be blocking, right? Yes?
On the appointed grounds.
You won't allow the dismissal of the 2 ministers today, is that correct? Dear colleagues, let me just once again, government! Dear colleagues.
Government.
So, will the deputies be able to make personnel decisions regarding the government today, and will the podium be unblocked? We will be finding out throughout our broadcasts in the United Marathon. Our film crew is working inside the Verkhovna Rada. The High Anti-Corruption Court has ruled to take former Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Chernyshov into custody for 2 months until January 16, 2026, with an alternative of bail set at 51,600,000 hryvnias instead of detention. The SAPO prosecutors requested bail of 55 million hryvnias because that is the amount, albeit in foreign currency, that Oleksiy Chernyshov allegedly received as an unlawful benefit. This is part of the kickback scheme at Energoatom that NABU is investigating. Chernyshov denied all accusations in the courtroom. Those who wanted to vouch for him included the head of the research institute, Oleksandr Savchenko, the representative of the ecumenical patriarch, Mikhailo Anishchenko, and Judge Nahachevsky. The court rejected this petition. On the so-called Mindich tapes, Chernyshov is allegedly referred to as Che Guevara, but Chernyshov himself categorically denied such a nickname.
Once again, I want to inform everyone that my surname is Chernyshov. I have never used, nor do I use any other surname or nickname. I do not suffer from identity disorder, at least not yet, thank God. I heard about this Chervalara at the same time as all of you, a week ago. Do I have anything to do with this? Obviously I do not. That's obvious to me, and we will prove it.
Please explain how you ended up in the apartment located on Volodymyrska Street, in the office of a criminal organization that belongs to the relatives of a traitor to Ukraine, former member of Parliament Derkach. For what purpose did you go there? What kind of intellectual club is this?